Hey, wives. Coach T here with you again. Yes. Listen, I had a few responses and questions from the last video, Divinely Called to Stand for Marriage. And so I thought I would do a follow-up video in between me cooking and being domestic and stuff, still trying to be domestic and stuff. But I thought about doing a follow-up video just to bring a little bit more clarity about when I talk about being divinely called, or when I say this is your assignment, right? So I'm gonna say a quick prayer with this one, just for God to just make my words come out as plain, as simple, for the smallest person to understand. I just pray, Father God, that you cover this message, Lord, and give me the words to speak to your wife, God, now in your son Jesus' name. All right. So listen, a lot of times, most of the times, when I share with wives about their assignment, when I share with wives about, being called to this type of assignment in a marriage, I always love to reference the story of Hosea and Gomer. I always like to reference that story. I'm an Abigail fan, a Moses fan, Joshua fan, David fan, Joseph fan. I love them. Like they are like my Bible characters, right? But when it comes down to the marital assignment, honey, I love the story of Hosea and Gomer. I absolutely love the story of those two, because I don't know who Hosea mental health coach was, but based off of what the Lord asked him to do, he needed some type of mental coaching, okay? He needed that. And so I want to share with you. And I actually pulled out my Bible. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want to share with you from Hosea chapter 1. We're going to go to Hosea chapter 1, verse 2. And I want to just point out to wives, when I express to wives about hearing from God and that God gives instructions and that God talks, that God talks to you. I'm going to share more about that over this weekend. But this really does happen. it really is a thing. Like, God really does talk to his people. God really does talk to his chosen ones, not just his chosen ones. God can talk to anyone. You don't have to necessarily have an assignment or be nobody special or anything for God to speak to you. God speaks, he speaks to his people. But this Bible script talks about how he specifically said these things to Hosea. And so I want to start in Hosea chapter 1, verse 2, when it says, when the Lord first began speaking to Israel through Hosea, Hosea was a prophet. He was a prophet, so he was God's voice piece. He said to him, go and marry a prostitute, so that some of her children will be conceived in prostitution. This will illustrate how Israel has acted like a prostitute by turning against the Lord and worshiping other gods. All right. This is the instructions that God gave Hosea. God told Hosea, go out there and marry you one of them worldly women. Go out there and get you one of them girls out there. Ain't going to be no good for you. I want you to go and get that one. Because I have a plan. That I want to use you as an example. I'm going to use you as my example by allowing you to live through what I'm trying to teach my people. Come on, Jesus. So God gave Hosea specific instructions to go and marry a worldly person. All right. He gave him specific instructions. Hosea was chosen, wives. He was chosen by God for this assignment to marry this type of woman. God told Hosea, she's going to cheat on you. She's going to love other men. She's going to run the streets. She ain't going to come home at night sometimes. She's going to stay out all night. She probably don't come home at all. She's going to have outside children. She's going to do all these things. But guess what? I want you to go marry her because I am going to use you marrying her as an example to my people. All right? I'm going to use you marrying her to be an example to my people. I want my people to understand that what they have done and what they are doing, this is how they're behaving. But because they are behaving this way and because they're acting this way, I still have a plan. All right? Hosea and Gomer's story is a story of redemption, unconditional love, and it talks about that person representing righteousness. Hosea was representing God in this sense, okay? When I share with wives, like I recently told you about his wife, you are a representative of Christ, okay? Hosea was a representative of God in this situation. Now, let's jump to chapter 3, verse 1, and I'm going to read to you what the Lord said to Hosea again. Then the Lord said to me, this is Hosea speaking, go and love your wife again. Even though she commits adultery with another lover, this will illustrate that the Lord still loves Israel, even though the people have turned to other gods and love to worship them. So God has spoken again to Hosea, telling him, now, I know I told you to marry this wife. Mind you, Hosea and Gomer had a life. They had children among themselves. They was living life as husband and wife. And then all of a sudden, this thing didn't just happen like, right away. This happened over time. She birthed 3 to 4 kids with her husband before even going out to the streets and living this type of life. Okay? So they were husband and wife. They were walking in holy matrimony. These things didn't just happen overnight. Okay? It didn't, and she didn't just start going out to the streets. She didn't start going out to do what she was doing. Listen, for the wives who always asking about that prayer about the thorn, praying that thorn of protection around that husband. This is where it comes from. It comes from out of this story. All right. It is actually in Hosea chapter 2, verses 6. It says, for this reason, I will fence her in with thorn bushes. I will block her path with a wall to make her lose her way. Okay. When she returns after her lovers, she won't be able to catch them. She will search for them, but not find them. Then she will think, I might as well return to my husband, for I was better off with him than I am now. That is the prayer that is the thorn of protection prayer. I encourage my wives all the time, especially when another person is involved, especially when that spouse is on the outside of the home. I always encourage wives, pray that prayer of that prayer of thorn, that thorn protection around your spouse. Okay. This is the story it comes out of. So when I have some wives, who question, like, will God really tell me to stay in this unhealthy marriage? But will God really, really tell me to be in this unhealthy marriage? Will God really, really tell me to stay with this man who's doing these things to me? Yes, he will, wife. Yes, he will. Okay. And so I wanted to just bring clarity. One of the reasons why I teach and coach from the Bible, not everything, but a lot of what I share comes from I share from the Bible for 2 reasons. One, because when I was going through what I was going through, I needed to find word to back up what I was going through. I was one of those ones who was like, no, your word can't say this, but then say this too. I need you to make this make sense to me, Lord. Okay. So I was that one. When I was going through my journey, I needed to find scripture to help me make sense of my situation. All right. That's one of the reasons. The second reason I coach from the Bible is because I can back it up. The Bible backs up everything that I teach and that I coach and share with wives. The Bible can back it up. God is the creator of marriage. And so because he is the creator of marriage, why would you go to anyone else about your marriage troubles? Why would you go to anyone else about your marriage situation when God himself was the one who created marriage? So because he is the creator of the marriage covenant, because it was his institution that he put together, who else would you go to and ask questions about it? Why I emphasize to wives all the time about consult with God, consult with God, consult with God? Because God is the creator of the marriage covenant. He is the one who created this, not the world, not culture, not Hollywood, not your mama and them, not your friends, all right? Not them Hallmark Channel people on TV. None of those people created marriage. God was the creator. God is the creator of marriage. And because he is the creator of marriage, we ought to follow the instructions that he has laid out for us. And the Bible tells us that. Does the Bible tell us that God hates divorce? It absolutely does. But the Bible also tells us too for the ones, let me emphasize this part. The Bible also tells us too, for the ones God has chosen to stay in unhealthy marriages. That's why the first thing I said in Hosea chapter 1, it says, when the Lord first began speaking to Israel through Hosea, he said to him, go and marry a prostitute so that some of her children will be conceived in the prostitution. This will illustrate how Israel has acted like a prostitute by turning against the Lord and worshiping other gods. Okay, let me go back to the other part. Then the Lord said to me, go and love your wife again, even though she commits adultery. I read that somewhere earlier today. The Lord gave this message to Hosea, son of, okay, whoever these names is. When the Lord first began speaking to Israel through Hosea, he said to him, go and marry a prostitute. God specifically used Hosea for this assignment. God specifically chose Hosea. He could have chose anyone, but he specifically chose the prophet Hosea to walk out this assignment. All right. So this is why I always emphasize to wives, this is not for everybody. This storyline, this does not refer to everybody's situation. This is not for every marriage. This is why it's so very important for wives to understand and know that God specifically have given you instructions to walk out this. God has specifically chose you for this type of assignment. God has specifically said, okay, look, I'm going to need you to do this. You're not going to like it, okay? You're not going to like it. But I can guarantee, okay, in my Denzel voice, I can guarantee when it's all said, done, and over with, you're going to be like, okay, now I get it, God. Now I understand. All right? It was another part in here that I wanted to share with you. Oh, when I talk about redemption. So if we go back to chapter 3, verse 2, it says, so I bought her back for 15 pieces of silver. The number 15 represents redemption. And 5 bushels of barley. The number 5 represent grace. Then I said to her, you must live in my house for many days and stop your prostitution. During this time, you will not have sexual relationships with anyone, not even with me. Okay? You will not have sexual relationships with anyone, not even with me. Listen, wives. God has a plan for your marital pain. Okay? God has a plan for your marital plan, for your marital pain. It is not his goal to leave you out there in the cold. It is not his goal to leave you stuck in Egypt. It is not his goal to leave you out there holding the ball. God is saying, if I chose you for this, which is why it's so important for wives to get clarity, understanding, and know that this is what God has called her to. Don't just be trying to do this just because, okay, well, I want to do this. No, you need to know that God is calling you to this because God may not be calling you to this. And this is when I say, if adultery has taken place in the marriage, if adultery has taken place in the marriage, you do have that biblical right to exit out of your marriage. Okay. But if God has said, I want you to stand, or I want you to stay in this, or I want you to, I want to work something out, or I want you to be still right now. If God is saying those types of words to you, those are indicators that you need to take heed to what he's saying and consult with him. You need to consult with him. You need to follow through his instructions. You need to learn how to hear from him so you would know exactly. Y'all excuse my teenager up there because he extra. You would know exactly what you need to do on this journey, okay? You would know exactly what you need to do. So what does this have to do with mental health, Coach T, okay? Like, what does this have to do with mental health? Like, you this mental health wife coach, like, what does this have to do with mental health? The first thing I said, I don't know who Hosea mental coach was, but I know he had to be consulting with someone. Okay? I know he had to be talking to somebody. I know in no doggone way he was dealing with what he was dealing with. And he wasn't talking to nobody, because this type of assignment requires you to have some type of coach, some type of mentor, some type of guidance, some kind of support. If you're trying to do this on your own, well, this is where and why so many people are suffering with the mental health issues that they're suffering with, because they're trying to do this walk or this stand on your own. And God didn't call you to do this on your own. Now, granted, there are seasons, there are times, there are moments when you are walking with God alone. But then there's also times when God is saying, listen, I place people on your path to help you, okay? Your mental health includes your emotional well-being, your psychological well-being, your social well-being. Come on now. This man said, this whole man, wife is out here messing around, sleeping with other women. That ain't gonna mess with his psyche. That's not gonna mess with him emotionally. That's not gonna be bothersome to him. That's not gonna, bother him. All right. Your mental health affects how you think, how you feel, and how you act. Okay. It also helps determine how you handle stress, how you relate to others, and how you make healthy choices. Why I emphasize self-care on this journey? Because you need to be in a healthy place and space in order to maintain this type of stand. You need to be in a healthy place. You need to be prioritizing your self-care. You need to be mentally healthy. You need to be emotionally balanced. You need to be spiritually aware. Okay? You need to be physically healthy. You need that. Sometimes I have wives who share with me, I've lost a lot of weight since doing this, thing. I've been losing a lot of weight. And baby, let me tell you, I remember my husband when he the first time. I was a big girl. I'm a big girl now still too, but I ain't got no issues with my weight. Okay. That's a different story. I'll talk about that later. My son trying to call me out. I'm a big girl now, but I don't have an issue with my weight. However, before my husband left, I was a big girl, right? I was a big girl. My son was very young. I think I just had my son, actually, my second son. And he had left. And baby, that weight dropped off of me. I was a toothpick, okay? When I went home, it was he left in October around that time. And I had went home for like Thanksgiving. Everybody was concerned. Everybody was looking. Everybody was like, she all right? You all right? Everything all right? Everything all right? Because mind you, I didn't necessarily tell people what was going on. All right. I always tell wives that you got to know when to say something to people and when you want to say something to people, or you put your speech together. Sign up for a consultation. You can talk about it. All right. So people didn't really know what was going on. Only a select few knew what was going on. So when they see me being this blowfish, and now I'm like super small, they was looking like, girl, you all right? First thing people think, you ain't sick, are you? I lost so much weight. That weight dropped off me so fast. And so, like I say, this is why these things are so important. You need to understand that weight will fall off, but there are ways for you to work on it. There are ways for you to build that muscle back. There are certain foods. Some people just don't have the appetite, when they're dealing with this type of stuff. They just don't have the correct appetite. So I encourage wives, do smoothies or, do something that your doctor, go to your doctor and see what your doctor will recommend. Maybe you can't eat a whole, full, healthy meal. Like I think I shared before, I started eating salads. Listen, I was eating salads and the ravioli in the can, honey. When I tell you, when I ate that meal, I felt so at peace. I was so in a good space. Okay. It was ravioli and salads for me because I wasn't really hungry. I didn't have the appetite. You go through a lot of different changes. So your mental health is a big deal during this time. Your mental health is very challenging during this time. And so this is why it's so important for wives to make sure that they're prioritizing that. They need to make sure they're prioritizing their well-being. The investment is not about, you invested into your marriage. The investment is that you're invested into yourself. And then your marriage will benefit from this, okay? But when God has called a wife to this type of assignment, you have to learn, you have to understand this comes with a whole lot of different ups and downs and round and round, and 1 minute you up and 1 minute you down. Sometimes you fine, next time you not. It just depends. It just depends, okay? His wife, or if God has chosen you for the assignment to stand in your marriage, you have to understand, wife, you are there as a representative of Christ. Does God ask some wives to do this type of assignment? We just read in Hosea that he absolutely do. Okay? We just read in the book of Hosea that he absolutely do. Does it seem fair? It absolutely does not seem fair. But God had a plan and a reason, like I shared with you on the last video. He has a plan, a purpose, and a reason why he has chosen you for this, okay? He didn't just choose you for this just to be choosing you for this. He has an end goal to this. But what he wants you to do is to get the restoration that you need while you're on this journey as he works out the kinks with your marriage. He wants you to work out. He wants you to get what you need on this journey as he works out the kinks. Hosea's story. He represented God. He was a representative of God. It's a story of redemption. And it's a story of unconditional love. When I tell wives all the time, when I know in the beginning of my coaching, I will always share with wives, just love your husband. Just love your husband. Just love your husband. just love him through that, And it's not love him like, loving him, going and kiss him, loving him, put your arm around him. Love him like what the Bible tells us in Peter, where it says love covers a multitude of sin. That's how you love your husband on this journey. Love covers a multitude of sin. That is how you love your husband. The story of Hosea and Gomer, you have to go back and read it. You have to go back and read it yourself and see how the Lord turned and changed things, and how a whole his people were redeemed, were redeemed, and Hosea was the example that God used to show them that. Hosea was that example that he was used. Sometimes people who are chosen for this assignment, God is using you as not only as a representation of Christ, but he's also using you as a representative of, how you go through something hard like this and actually overcome. How you walk through something that's difficult and actually overcome and get through it. All right. So I always say it's a privilege. It really is a privilege when God has chosen you for this, because that means he sees something in you so great, so grand, so awesome, so wonderful. And he's saying, I want to use that. I want to use that because I know that that person will, bring me glory. I know that this person will bring me glory on their journey. All right. And so listen, I thought I would just, come in and do a little part two. And bring that all the way around and just really, really express to wives that don't think it's strange. I think the Bible talks about that. Think it not strange when you fall into these types of trials and tribulations, like it's in James. Don't think it's strange when you come upon these type of trials and tribulations. Don't think it's strange, when if God is asking you to do something like this. If God is asking you to do it, if you're feeling that tug in your heart, if you're feeling like, oh, well, maybe I should, why am I feeling like this? Or should I be feeling like this? If you're feeling that, don't think it's strange. Don't think it's strange. What your job is to go after it. Your job is to see why he's asking you to do this. That is what your job is during this time. All right. So listen, wives, I want to encourage you. If you have not signed up for your consultation, please sign up for your consultation. Sign up for your consultation. Your consultation gives you clarity. Your consultation allows you to ask questions. Your consultation allows you to see if coaching is for you, if you need to pursue with coaching. Okay. So sign up for your consultation. You can do that at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. From the coaching, we get to determine whether or not if Her Buoyancy Boost is the best pick for you. All right. If Her Buoyancy Boost is the best pick for you. Some wives don't need to take the curriculum. Some wives just need a little, a little tweak. They just need a little, just a little bit of turning, a little bit, let me help you here, let me help you here type of thing. So they may not necessarily need the curriculum. However, a consultation is still needed for us to even talk about that and see what the next step is for you. So I want to encourage you, sign up today at www.marriagechroniclesbytanika.com. Listen, I will talk to you guys on Saturday. Blessings.